On May 13th, the United States and Saudi Arabia signed what might be the most consequential agreement of the decade, a $600 billion partnership that includes the largest arms deal in human history. But this isn't just about weapons and oil anymore. This is about who controls the future of technology, energy, and global influence. While the world was distracted by regional conflicts and domestic politics, Saudi Arabia and America just redrew the map of global power again. To understand why this deal matters, we need to go back, way back to the foundations of the US-Saudi relationship. It began in 1945 with a simple bargain: American military protection in exchange for reliable access to Saudi oil. What followed was decades of a marriage of convenience that shaped the modern Middle East. By the 1970s, this relationship evolved into something even more powerful: the petrodollar system. Saudi Arabia agreed to sell its oil exclusively in US dollars and invest billions of those dollars back into US Treasury bonds. This arrangement helped cement American economic dominance for half a century. The relationship reached its military peak during the 1990 Gulf War, when over 500,000 American troops deployed to defend Saudi Arabia from Saddam Hussein's Iraq. The kingdom became a permanent home to US military bases and America's biggest weapons customer, buying over $140 billion in arms just between 2010 and 2020. But this alliance has always been built on contradictions. 15 of the 19 9/11 hijackers were Saudi citizens. The Congressional 9/11 Commission report revealed troubling connections between Saudi officials and the attackers. Yet the alliance persisted. Then came Saudi Arabia's brutal war in Yemen, with American-made bombs killing thousands of civilians. Human rights organizations documented war crimes. The alliance persisted. In 2018, Saudi operatives brutally murdered Washington Post journalist Jamal Khashoggi, reportedly on direct orders from Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman himself. President Biden would later campaign on a promise to make Saudi Arabia a pariah state. That promise lasted exactly 18 months. Until Russia invaded Ukraine, oil prices spiked, and suddenly America needed Saudi Arabia again. Biden's humiliating fist bump with MBS signaled the rehabilitation had begun. Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia was hedging its bets. In 2022, they signed a strategic partnership with China. In 2023, they joined the BRICS alliance, a direct challenge to Western economic institutions. When Russia invaded Ukraine, Saudi Arabia refused American pleas to isolate Putin. The message was clear: Saudi Arabia would no longer be America's loyal client state. It was time for a new deal. So what exactly is in this $600 billion agreement? Let's break it down. First, there's the military component. $142 billion in advanced weapons and systems, the largest arms sale in history. This includes F-35 fighter jet upgrades, THAAD missile defense systems, littoral combat ships, and AI-powered surveillance networks along Saudi borders with Yemen and Iraq. The deal will train 5,000 Saudi officers at elite U.S. military academies, while American advisors overhaul the Saudi Medical Corps. But the really interesting part is the $458 billion in energy and technology investments. Saudi Arabia will pour $20 billion into Texas and Louisiana oil infrastructure, a massive boost to American refining capacity. Meanwhile, U.S. companies gain access to Saudi rare earth mineral deposits, crucial for everything from EV batteries to semiconductors. The technology component is staggering. Saudi's DataVolt fund commits $80 billion to U.S. artificial intelligence projects, including massive server farms in Nevada, partnerships with Oracle, AMD, and other tech giants. Perhaps most controversially, the deal includes shared research and development on small modular nuclear reactors, with Saudi Arabia agreeing to forgo uranium enrichment, at least for now. And here's where it gets political. These investments are surgically targeted at American swing states: $5.8 billion for a medical supplies plant in Michigan, $14.2 billion for GE turbine manufacturing in Ohio. The economic impact of these investments will be felt just in time for the next election cycle. So why did the United States make this deal now? It comes down to three words: China, Iran, and economics. First, China's technological rise has Washington terrified. China's Digital Silk Road initiative has been integrating countries into Chinese tech ecosystems, from 5G networks to cloud computing. By locking Saudi Arabia into US AI and cloud systems through Google and Amazon, America creates a technological counterweight to Beijing's ambitions in the Middle East. Second, Iran. The upgraded Saudi missile defenses directly counter Iranian influence by neutralizing the threat from Tehran's proxies like the Houthis in Yemen. While the deal carefully avoids explicit anti-Iran language, its military components create an unmistakable containment strategy. Third, economic stimulus. With recession fears looming and manufacturing struggling in key electoral states, the $600 billion Saudi injection couldn't come at a better time politically. There's another factor that's rarely discussed openly. America's so-called energy independence was always more slogan than reality. U.S. financial markets and the global economy still depend on stable oil prices, which Saudi Arabia controls more than any other nation. America might publicly frame the relationship with Saudi Arabia in terms of strategic alignment or shared values. The fundamental driver is economic and financial self-interest. In this case, the $600 billion deal is presented as the price at which the U.S. is willing to overlook issues like the Khashoggi murder, Saudi human rights abuses, and other concerns that had previously caused tension in the relationship. For Saudi Arabia and Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, this deal delivers victories on multiple fronts. Militarily, the F-35s and THAAD systems give Saudi Arabia overwhelming regional superiority against its rivals, and protection from the drone swarms that have recently proven so effective against oil infrastructure. Technologically, access to American AI and data centers accelerates Vision 2030, MBS's ambitious plan to transform Saudi Arabia from an oil kingdom to a diversified, high-tech economy. The deal specifically supports Saudi's Cognitive Cities initiative, smart urban centers built from the ground up with AI integration. But perhaps most valuable is the image rehabilitation. After the Khashoggi murder made him an international pariah, MBS has engineered a remarkable comeback. The deal's green energy components, nuclear research, carbon capture technology, help rebrand the Crown Prince as a forward-thinking reformer rather than an authoritarian killer. This deal also preserves Saudi Arabia's new strategy of strategic balancing between global powers. Nothing in the agreement prevents continued cooperation with China or Russia. It's multipolar diplomacy at its most sophisticated, taking advantage of superpower rivalry without becoming dependent on any single patron. I would say it's not love, it's mutual survival in an age of US-China twilight. But this deal has sparked fierce criticism both in America and internationally. U.S. Senator Chris Murphy called it rewarding Khashoggi's murderers, while human rights groups highlighted the hypocrisy of strengthening ties with a regime still holding thousands of political prisoners. Civil liberties organizations like the ACLU warned that AI deals would empower Saudi's surveillance state, while Saudi feminist activists fear expanded biometric tracking will target women who violate strict social codes. Within Saudi Arabia itself, tribes displaced by the massive NEOM project, a futuristic city central to Vision 2030, have protested land seizures that will accelerate under the new technology partnerships. Internationally, the reactions have been calculating and strategic. Iran immediately unveiled new naval drills near the Strait of Hormuz and labeled Saudi Arabia a Zionist mercenary, a reference to rumors of Saudi-Israeli normalization hidden within the agreement. The geopolitical aftershocks of this deal are already reshaping global politics. Oil markets responded immediately, with Brent crude dropping 4% as Saudi Arabia pledged to stabilize output through 2026, a huge win for American consumers facing inflation. In Yemen, Houthi rebels suspended drone strikes after U.S. THAAD batteries were deployed near Riyadh, potentially offering a path to end the devastating civil war. Perhaps most significantly, Egypt and the UAE have delayed joining China's alternative currency bloc within BRICS, fearing U.S. sanctions, now that America has shown its willingness to reinvest in regional alliances. It's a world where America preaches human rights while selling bombs to those who violate them. A world where Saudi Arabia claims independence while becoming dependent on American technology. A world where global power is increasingly measured not just in military might or energy reserves, but in artificial intelligence, rare earth minerals, and technological ecosystems. The question we're left with isn't whether this deal benefits America or Saudi Arabia in the short term. Clearly, both sides calculated their immediate gains. The real question is, are we witnessing a genuine strategic alliance based on shared vision for the future? Or is this just another transactional friendship dressed in diplomatic language, one that will collapse when circumstances change? In the end, there are no permanent allies or enemies, only permanent interests. What's your take on this deal? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I really want to hear what you think.